Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to my channel, PEI's Uncovered. My name is Jim Shephard, and I'm the author of the PEI's Ben Vern Detective Novel Series. We're going to do things just a little bit different today after having the night that I had last night. And let me tell you, if you're lactose intolerant, it's not a good idea to go to bed and right after having a large ice cream cone and forgetting to take my lactate pills. So, needless to say, my night was one of somewhat uncomfortableness. Anyway, I got up this morning and still wishing that I could sleep the day in. Rolled out of bed and got dressed, and I stood up and looked in the mirror and I thought to myself, oh, good Lord, your shirt's on inside out. You forgot your underwear, and all of this after realizing that I hadn't taken my shower yet. So it was a quick strip off, jump in the shower, and I stayed in there until I started to feel better. And I got out, got redressed, and as you can see, the shirt is on, right side, and you have to take my word for it. The underwear is on. Okay, but the reason I'm mentioning all this is because it's a very interesting segue into what I want to read to you today, and that's a little bit about Ben, who's having one of those days. Now, Ben's not a person who suffers a lot of fear or anxiety. Um, he's quite brave, but he does have one small flaw. He's terrified of the occult. Okay, now I don't know where he gets that from because, like I told you before. Ben's character is derived from my own, and I love Stephen King and his stories and that sort of thing. But Ben, not so much. Anyway, you'll understand when I start to read this. Now, this excerpt is from PEI's Smoke and Mirrors, and I'm just going to read it to you. See which is kind of a day you think Ben's having. Okay, Wilma summoned the boys by telephone. Surprised that Vern actually answered on the third ring, she responded, I see you finally learned how to use that communication device. Good boy, keep it up. I trust the patient is doing well. Ben was not in a particularly good mood, having spent the better part of the morning in a dentist chair while being the object of a lengthy and difficult root canal procedure. The shot of Novocaine was slowly beginning to wear off, and the only thing he was offered to combat the expected wave of throbbing pain was an ineffective pair of over-the-counter, low-dose codeine/Tylenol pills, compliments of Dr. Mandible. The dentist advised Vern that the discomfort his good friend was experiencing would gradually diminish over the next few hours, and as a result, a stronger painkiller was neither called for nor forthcoming. Ben overheard the exchange. That's bullshit, he tried to exclaim through muffled and swollen gums and lips. It's already throbbing. I need something stronger. You sadistic bastard. That's not easy to do, by the way. Vern suppressed a giggle as his attention returned to Wilma's phone call. I have never wanted a voice recorder more than at this very moment. I'm babysitting Ben. Do you have any idea what that means? God help us if he ever gets shot, stabbed, or falls down and scrapes his knee. I can only imagine. Vern shook his head. Lady, you have no idea, he thought. Then, remembering that Wilma had called him, What's up, darling? What can I do for you? I'm at the office, Vern. Write this down. I need a shovel, 3 full-size garbage bins, a can of Raid, a bottle of bleach, a can or 2 of Febreze, a toilet plunger, and a roll of police tape. Police tape? To keep the public clear. If anyone crosses the tape, they do so at their own risk. Vern finally clued in. Oh, I see. Funny. Wilma's mood changed drastically. No, Vern, this isn't the least bit funny. But let me tell you exactly what it is. It's the last time. Got it? The last friggin' time. It has only been 2 weeks since we cleaned this toxic pigsty, and already it looks like the aftermath of a week-long frat party. We are fed up. Cassie and I are not maids. We aren't your personal valets, and we sure as hell are not being paid to do this. Vern hoped that the momentary silence following Wilma's tirade was indicative that his red-haired friend and associate had concluded her rant. He was sadly mistaken. Listen to me, Vern. This bloody office comes with hinged windows and a modern ventilation system, yet rarely are either one of them in use. The putrid stink of rancid meat and sugar farts is making my eyes water. This room has the ambience of a World War I trench after a mustard gas attack. I shouldn't have to remind you that Breakwater Investigations is a business that caters to walk-in clientele. Are you trying to euthanize any potential clients before they hire you? For the love of God, I don't care what it takes. Get Edna Struthers back in here before we sneak in and gut you 2 slobs while you sleep. And if the poor soul is foolish enough to come back, increase her pay to whatever she wants. Double it if it takes that. Lost for words. Vern stared at the floor as he shuffled his feet in shame. He then looked over at his partner, who continued to resemble a patient who had just undergone cardiac bypass surgery without benefit of anesthesia. And he couldn't decide which was worse. Okay, I get it. I promise it won't happen again. Go ahead and schedule a meeting tonight at the command center. We can discuss it and look over some options. How does that sound? Sounds like more of the same old bullshit to me. But I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. You jokers had better show up by 8 p.m. and come with a plan that we can accept, or so help me, I will personally break into Breakwater tonight and set off enough fireworks to assure that we will never have to clean that sewer you call an office again. Vern loved it when Wilma got feisty, but that oft-called-upon portion of his brain that struggled to keep the opinionated detective from committing random acts of foolishness told him that he had better keep that particular thought to himself. At the same time, he knew that a change was imminent. The trick now was to get Ben to a state where he could actively participate in forming a solution, and that, Vern realized, would not be an easy task, even under normal circumstances. 2 hours post-procedure, with the effects of the anesthesia completely worn off, the boys walked out of the dentist's office and took a leisurely stroll down Water Street. Vern closely monitored his friend, biding time until he was confident that Ben was clear enough of mind to carry on a conversation and understand the ultimatum that Wilma had issued. I do believe I could use a nice hot cup of coffee, Vern. Maybe something to eat, too. The smell of deep-fried everything is hitting me like a rolled-up newspaper beating up on a pesky housefly. He inhaled deeply to emphasize his point. Vern stared off into space in an effort to determine if Ben's jaw had recovered from the recent surgery well enough to take in a hot beverage and some food. The dentist's warning to avoid extreme temperatures for a while resonated with him, but the fact that he had never known Ben to go this length of time without sustenance of one form or another trumped the logic that their professional healthcare provider offered. How about we start off with a lukewarm coffee and maybe a nice soft donut to see if you can handle it? Ben scoffed. No way, Jose. I'm feeling much better now, and that pain has subsided. And to be perfectly honest, if I don't reload with some serious caffeine soon, I can't be responsible for what happens next, he laughed. They were about to enter Poseidon's adventure, the latest in a stream of shameless grease pits that popped up in the seaside community, attracting the locals and tourists with artery-clogging garbage. Ben stopped short of the doorway when he spotted what appeared to be an old man sitting on a curb, hunched over and clutching a filthy canvas bag. Check it out, Vern. The old geezer. Have you seen him around here before? He asked his partner, knowing the answer in advance. Something about him. Yes, there's definitely something about him. Vern tried to grab Ben by the arm to redirect him toward their ultimate goal. Let it go, Ben. He's just a vagrant. He's not bothering anyone. I'm not even sure he knows where he is or what he's doing. Ben pulled away, surprising his friend. He doesn't look well. We can't ignore that, Vern. Let's see what this guy says. Maybe call some help in for him. We can't just ignore someone in distress. Vern looked on in disbelief. Ben's actions were out of character. Never one to ignore a person in distress, he nevertheless went out of his way to avoid anyone who showed signs of vagrancy or mental illness that manifested itself in such a fashion. It wasn't that he didn't care. He did care. Usually, however, he simply could not handle it. Excuse me, old-timer, Ben announced as he came up on the individual whose head remained lowered, hiding his face. Are you okay, buddy? Is there anything we can do? Are you hungry? Without exposing his face, the vagrant raised an arm and swiped it through the air in an obvious effort to ward off the intruder. Go away. Ben persisted. Look, pal, we're not harassing you. You look like you could use a hand. We want to help you. Are you deaf? I said leave me alone. The voice was low and raspy. Go away now, or... Ben knelt down in front of the vagrant and reached out to him. Vern stood with his jaw wide open. What the hell is he doing now? He wondered. Ben, let's go. You're wasting your time. That's right. Listen to Vern, the voice rasped. Listen to him, and go now. Ben pulled back. He stared quizzically at the lowered head. At no time did this vagrant look up or make eye contact. Did he just call Vern by his name? Did I imagine that? He wondered. Was it the drugs he had taken? Who are you? Ben now demanded. Last time, Ben. Get lost. Ben was dumbfounded that this person, whom neither he nor Vern had ever met, was referring to them by name. Part of him wanted to get up and leave, but Ben, being Ben, could not live with such a decision. He reached out to touch the hobo and hopefully establish some kind of rapport. Ben needed answers now. In a flash, the vagrant's arm shot out and grabbed Ben's wrist. I warned you. Ben tried to wrest his arm free, but the grip was vice-like. The stranger threw back its head covering, revealing a grotesque face, pockmarked and covered in festering boils. Ben noticed the decaying teeth, blackened by years of neglect. The rat-like hair and the earrings of chipped, cracked bones that could have been human fingers at one time. In a flash, the shocked PI could see that the vagrant was not a man, as he had assumed, but rather a woman. Aside from the horribly disfigured face, evidence of her gender came in the form of partially exposed breasts, tattooed and pierced like those of a carnival freak. Her twisted smirk gave way to a frightening comment. I warned you to leave me alone. Now you will pay. She reached up with her free hand and spit into the splayed fingers before rubbing them over the back of Ben's bare arm. At the same time, with her gravel-like voice, the she-creature uttered, Te maldigo. Las mujeres nunca te temerán. Literally translated, I curse you. Women will never love you. Ben recoiled in horror, fell into the street, and rolled onto his back. Vern ran over to his fallen partner and helped the victim to his feet. The boys looked around to confront the assailant, but like a ghost in a low-budget horror movie, she was gone. What the hell? Where did she go? Ben shouted. The detectives looked up and down the street and into the shop through the window, but nowhere was the vagrant to be found. A small gathering collected around the boys. Are you all right there, buddy? One of the concerned bystanders asked. Did anyone see where that crazy woman went? Ben pleaded. The crowd appeared to be puzzled. What woman? They asked collectively. I didn't see any crazy woman. Only you two guys, one of them stated. You squatted down on the curb and fell over backwards. Ben looked at Vern. Vern looked at Ben. The crowd, almost to a person, shook their heads and walked away. Vern overheard one of them state, I know those guys. They're the PIs over at Breakwater Investigations. They're always pulling off one prank or another. This must be one of their lamer attempts. Foregoing the grease pit that had attracted them initially, the boys crossed the street and grabbed a table for two at the back of Caffeine Jake's Coffee Emporium. Two large steaming mugs of black coffee sat on the table awaiting their attention, but the coffees were destined to become cold containers of undesirable sludge before the boys paid heed. Ben broke the silence. Okay, I've given this plenty of thought, and I've come to the conclusion that whatever the hell that dentist injected into my mouth to numb the pain has had an adverse effect on me. I just had the most incredible hallucination of all time. This was reminiscent of the time back in grade school when that acid-head douchebag Doug slipped some shrooms into the salad that Mom packed for my lunch. Within minutes, I thought everyone in my geography class was melting. Yeah, I remember that, Vern started to smile, and as the image he conjured up of the hilarious reactions by the entire class, not to mention the staff. But the inappropriately entertaining moment was short-lived. Gotta tell you, Ben, there is one thing that bothers me about this latest event. If this was a reaction to your meds, why did I have the same experience? I was afraid you would say that. The two sat staring at each other for the next few moments, neither one knowing what to say next. Vern eventually spoke up. Look, for heaven's sakes, man, we're professional investigators, the best damn private eyes that ever graced the Maritimes. We gotta look at this like it happened to someone else who has come to us for a solution. Hell, man, that's what we do. You mean, what we would do if we didn't simply toss him out of our office like a couple of stoned-out hippie freaks coming off a bad trip. Yeah, something like that. Okay, my friend, let's look at it from a third-person perspective, shall we? In your own words, Mr. Peters, explain to me, if you possibly can, exactly what went down out there. Then I will compare it with my own experience and see if our stories coincide. Perhaps then we can discuss the possibility that we have finally become candidates for frontal lobotomies. And so, with that excerpt from the book Smoke and Mirrors, we can see that Ben is in for a rough ride for the rest of the book here. He's being targeted, and nobody knows why, but stay tuned and you'll find out. You can get the book Smoke and Mirrors through Volumes Publishing, and you can also get it by contacting me personally for a signed, autographed copy. So don't forget, if you enjoyed this, which I hope you have, don't forget to like it. Have a great day. Until next time, adios.